Recording. This one. So this one. Yes. Can increase the yes, can increase this. Just recheck with them if they're able to see. The reference. Yes. So is their audio off or? Yes, your audio is on. All right, now I hope you are able to see the window screen as well, the reference.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, so here we have an adult male, as you can see, and I chose something like which have more skin to show, because I think in order to make a figure, a human figure, as you can see here, one thing is a human with the clothings and a human without clothings. Now, both of them are figures. However, there is a huge difference in that. So in order to draw, for example, whenever you are outside and you feel like drawing some few sketches, you drew some few cars, some few inside the metro, you were there and you saw some people and then you wanted to draw. Now, in order to do that, in order to draw people, now one important thing you have to learn is that body structure, a certain body structure, which is like, is it a little bit thinner, a little bit taller, a little bit shorter? So it's important to know that a certain structure which is on the inside, and because upon wearing a certain clothing, a shirt, pen and all that, that really differentiates or that separates a certain anatomy which has more skin to show. Now I picked this reference so that uh this one, it is more of this, it has a dynamic pose, and as well as we can see the muzzle changes. If a certain person, if he was raising his hand, that means, and this muzzle contraction as well as this muzzle contraction is all different. However, it's not really important right now to dive too deep into that. So first we'll focus mostly on the gesture of it, which means the whole shape of the reference. So like I said, I'm just using maybe a so I'm just using an 8B pencil, like I said already. Now, in order to make this, in order to draw this, what I will first do is I'll just focus mostly on the shape first. I won't go into details at all. I'm also trying to see at the same time where I can, where my reference is looking at, which direction is my reference looking at as well. Now, as you can see over here on the reference, I have it here on my cell phone as well. So this reference over here, it has the body shape, which is sort of an S curve as well. It goes something like this. It's an S curve. So it's also really important to see the gesture. It's called the gesture or the shape in which our model is sitting or standing at. And also see, it's also important right now we're trying to make the figure of a male person. So the torso as well as the pelvis part, which I'll show you later, is also that different of a female. Now, until and unless you differentiate between the structure of a female and a male, whatever age group it may be, until and unless you try to differentiate that, most of your sketches about human would almost be the same, and we don't want that same thing. So here, if I even try to measure it, I can see that from the upper torso, which means from the hips, this hip over here, or in more scientific term, we call it the iliac crest, ILLIAC, iliac crest. The iliac crest, which is sort of like a bone like this here. So this part over here on your bone, this is the iliac crest. So this bone over here is really important because it sort of represents the midsection of the whole body. So over here, if this is my upper torso measurement, lower here, it should go around something over here. Yes. Now I get the bone here. In your artwork, I think it's also really important to bring as much dynamism as you can so that the model you are drawing is not too stiff. If it's too stiff, it looks more like like a structured robotic model rather than a like human model. I think you can see a little bit on the lower part as well. I want to show you that. See. All right. So here is my gesture of the whole drawing. It's just a rough layout because here I'm trying to focus on how my model will turn out to be. Now this part, we should not focus on the details at all. It's very important to see the shape, structure, how the model, how the person is behaving in a certain way. Is it sitting? Is it standing? Is it jumping? Or any sort of position it may be. So once I'm done with my whole layout thing, I will try to go a little bit more deeper into it. Now this time I will try to look at the proportions as well and try to fix some certain things. For example, like is my head too big? Or is my lower part, lower torso, is it shorter or longer than the upper one? So over here, it will give you a good this thing time to see whether you can really make those changes or not. And it's really important to see those changes as well. Over here. And as well as it's at the same time important for the direction where your model is also facing. Now I think you would have realized by this time that I'm trying to draw as light as I can, which means I'm applying very light pressure because I don't want to be using an eraser to be like erasing every time I make a mistake and all that. So here I'm trying to draw as light as I can so that I can readjust it later as my drawing progresses. So I'm just focusing on the shape of my model. I'm not looking at the values of it, which means like which place is darker, which place is lighter. I'm not trying to focus any of that. I'm just trying to focus on the shape as well, shape only. Now this bone over here, this part, this is the clavicle bone, or in simple words, we use it collarbone. So I think this is also really important because no matter what, yeah, I'll try to show it over here. What reference you draw here, this bone also, it gives you a certain shape, a certain feel to your drawing as well. For example, if I make it more curved, that means my reference or the model is moving, the hands are a little bit on the upper side. Now, if the clavicle bone is on the lower side of it, that means the model or the reference is at rest. So it's also important to see, try to see a little bit more deeper into that, right? So it, this is the reason why I did not choose a reference right now with a piece of this thing, a cloth, so that we can look a little bit more deeper into it. So here's the bone, which means it's a little bit upwards, and that shows the hands are now a little bit, the shoulders, I mean, not the hands, the shoulders are a little bit raised. Now, at the same time, I'm trying to look at the negative space as well. Now, this whole thing, this whole structure, this is the object, our subject at the front. However, the background behind, sometimes we used to ignore it. We just think that, we just think that the only thing important is at the front, the only thing that we are drawing. So most of the time we just focus on the front thing, the main subject which we are just making it, we just focus on that. However, I think it is very important that you see the background as well, how you can utilize the background for your own advantage. Now I will show you how practically how you can do it. I will show you how. So if you look at this on the reference, there's a space over here. So I'm trying to at least try to look at the ratio of it so that I'll know how much space, for example, in between the neck and this bicep over here, how much space is really necessary to keep. So if I add some hair over here, it's a little bit more, the space is a little bit more constrained. So I will try to add some little bit more space over here. See. Restart in 8 minutes. Restarting 9 minutes. Yes. Okay. Now you see the chest part as well. Over here, we have a more defined chest. As we can see here, it's a little bit more defined. However, here with the raising of the hand, which went upward with this raising of the hand, now the shape of the chest has also completely changed. Now all these simple uh, changes in the movement of your body also changes the shape of the muscles as well. So that's why sometimes it feels a little bit complicated, but at the same time, if we look at it carefully, it's all related. Interconnected with each other. Now you see over here, I'm trying to focus a little bit on the shapes as well. It's also important how the shapes looks as well. So I'm trying to see if it's a hand. So always try to think it in a 3D form, in a cylinder form. So when you look at your hand, it's not always straight. This is wrong. So it's always a cylinder shape and it always goes. So it always goes up here. On this upper side, it's a little bit thicker. And on over here, as we go down the wrist, it's a little bit thinner. See. Now you can see the whole thing a little bit. Now moving on to the legs. Now the legs are always a little bit tricky. However, one very simple thing which we can focus on here is um, there's a certain technique which we can use. However, like I said, it's always the standard technique. It doesn't always apply to every body type. And you know it yourself, everyone's body is always different. So if we look at here, the thighs I have over here are always a little bit more thicker. They're always more thicker than when we go towards the lower part, the calf and the shin. So one thing is whenever you're making an anatomy, if one part of the muscle, it goes towards the left, for example, it's always the other part which goes the other side. However, if you make it this way, now the structure, what happens? On both sides, it's bumpy over here as well. So when you're making a curve on one side, it's also important to give it on the other side as well. See. So I will show you here. And then the knee. It goes bumpy on this side. However, from here, see the same thing as here. From here, I'm trying to use this principle over here. If it's bumpy on one side, make it this bumpy on the other side and not the other way around. So you might have seen those old artworks as well about Renaissance artists and all that. Even with certain artists, I think if I'm not wrong, around with Michelangelo as well, most of the structures, most of the arms and then the legs looks a little bit this way as well, right? So like it's also important now to learn with the new materials, new sources that we have in hand to use those so that we can learn it much more easier than what they did before. So here is the whole structure of it. As you can see it here, even if I try to roughly measure it, see, now the lower torso, starting from here till here is called the lower torso. Starting from here till the tip of the head, it is the upper torso. Now, what I want you to do here is I want you to remember it is a fully grown adult, and on this shape, now when you look at this, the shoulders are wider. If it's male, always know that the shoulders are always wider. And then the iliac crest, or we call it the hip bone, over here, starting from this ASIS, ASIS, the ASIS, it's always the ASIS bone, right? It's always a little bit smaller for men, which means the hip bone, the pelvis part is always a little bit smaller in comparison with females. All right, so here it is, a rough sketch layout of it. So I hope you have some a little bit more understanding about the human anatomy as well. So in the next sessions, so yeah, in the next section we will try to do something about this one, female anatomy as well. So I hope you can try practicing a little bit here on this, and thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
No worries. You can try to
Thank you, sir.
you can try to practice the same reference as well if you want, and try to see when you are doing it yourself, what difference does it make. Yes. Now the arms are at rest. So the bone over here, this bone, it has to go a little bit downwards. So I'll just roughly quickly lay out. Now I think it's also important to look at the spine as well. The spine. So for example, here I have here a human figure facing rightwards on my right. This spine over here, the vertebra, it's also really important because it really gives you the essence of how the model is actually in a certain position or not. So this bone over here, this spine bone, is also important how you see it. So over here, I see it a little bit curved. It's not always standing, right? It's not always straight. Unless you are in the army and then like you're in a certain standing position, it's not always straight. The spine is always a little bit dynamic. So here, see, it is the whole gesture of the figure. We call it a figure drawing as well. Figure drawing, gesture drawing, anything. So one thing we can do is look for the midsection, the aces bone, right? The aces, the iliac crest. These two are very much important. So over here, I'm choosing this as the aces bone, and this will be my midsection. And why is the midsection important? Midsection is also important so that we will know where the upper torso will be and where the lower torso will be. Now, why is that important? So that you will be able to create a certain measurement where it will be like on one part it should be longer and one part it should be shorter, right? So if I just roughly measure it, even here, the legs, which means the lower torso, it's not only the legs, it also includes a little bit of the hip as well. So that becomes a little bit longer. So measure it here and here, see. So that means I have to widen it a little bit. Now, when we come at the feet over here, you try to look at the reference as well. Is it standing at the same line? Or is 1 feet apart from each other? Right? So it's also important so that you don't make something like which has a shorter leg and then the other one is a little bit longer. It would look a little bit odd. However, sometimes it could be a little bit at the back, sometimes it will be a little bit at the front. Now, when that happens, the shape, the density, which means the mass of the whole leg, will also differ, right? So let's move on quickly. So this one is the whole layout, the hands, and even with the hands, starting from the elbow, right? This whole forearm thing, and then the actual lower part of the hand. There are usually two bones over here, radius and ulna. So this bone over here with two bones over here. So it also gives you the mobility whenever you try to move your hand in a certain way, it gives that shape. The muscle itself doesn't have much of it. However, it is the bone which gives you that dynamism to it. So moving on to here. And also remember, don't try to go into details. Sometimes we used to get stuck at making the details, eyes and facial features and everything. Once your whole structure is done, you can focus on that.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I face problems while making the shoulders part.
Okay. Shoulder part. Yeah. So
या और neck part भी थोड़ा सा problem होता है जैसे.
neck part, yes. Now if I look so that is the reason why I showed you this as well, right? For example, your head hem, neck part, and then the shoulder. Now, if your shoulder is too straight ahead, now that is stiff. It will look stiff. So it looks more like a robotic figure. This one, mannequin. However, if you try to look at your work, I mean, look at the reference and look at it, see, right now, it's slanting a little bit towards the left. It's not straight. It's a little bit onto the left. So when I try to sketch it, see, I'll try to make it in that way as well. So all these things, it's not really easy to remember at once. It will take some few times, and then like you have to train your eyes as well. It's not only the your motor skills, which means your hand skills. It's also important to train your eye. Eye training is also important. Why? Because it will increase your observation, the efficiency in observing things. It will help you a lot. So always remember eye training, the way you observe, very much important. motor skills from your hands, which will have a memory on its own. More you do it, more you will remember. Second thing, and then the third will be the knowledge. How much knowledge you have, which means like, should it be bigger? Should it be smaller? Should it be fat? Should it be thin? These three things you have to keep in mind so that you can improve more on your art as well. Now over here, if I look at it, the female anatomy, the upper torso, or this whole thing, is a little bit more smaller than that of the male. It's the shoulders are not too wide. Always remember, females' shoulders and the waist are always a little bit smaller comparing that of a male. And see, the hip bone over here, which is the axis, is more thicker. And then moving on, do the lower part. The hip. And the same thing applies as well. If it's curved on one side and on the other side, it has to be curved. See, we're trying to use that principle. Right? And then the hands over here. However, I'll not try to make the hands since we don't have that much of time. So here it is, of that of a female. Now, by simply looking at this, like, it will be easier to know that this structure over here I have is that of a female. Yeah. So it's also important. It's very much important. How you try to deconstruct a certain complicated subject, be it human, be it different objects, anything. It is very much important to deconstruct. In simple words, it means to simplify things. When you see an apple, you try to deconstruct it, make it into a simple shape. If you're okay with using without of a square, use that. If it is circle, use it. Try to deconstruct so that now you have the whole structure of it, right? And adding more details would have more meaning than just simply adding it from the beginning. Yes? Sir, how much time do you have? So right now, if you have any more like testing feedback or any questions which you wanna ask, you can let me know. Anything, any questions in mind?
Hello, sir. Please
Yeah.
check my work, sir.
सर एक बार चेक कर सकते कि अभी टाइम
Thank you.
हाँ Tuesday meetings. They can only 1:40 में start getting.
Maybe 30 minutes. We have 10 minutes.
Acha, with 10 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, we'll give you some few minutes to ask anything, any questions. Yeah, one person was saying to share his or her work, so you can quickly share that as well. We have roughly 9 minutes.
Where you didn't draw the hands of model.
Yeah. I can do that, but however, in order to give you some more of a time here, that's the reason why. I want to listen to your views as well. So like, yeah, one person was trying to show, yes. Parveen Kumar, yes. Yes. I think, sir, it's really good that you tried to go a little bit deeper into it. You were trying to make the spine, right, of the structure. So which gave you that dynamic flow. So it's good that you added that, yes.
Could you share this picture?
Also, yeah, I would like to suggest key when you're trying to do some anatomy, please don't go too much into the scientific thing of it, right? Like learning each and every muscle, learning each and every bone. It is important, but not right now. What important is the overall structure, which Barvin, yes, over here has shared. It's just the overall structure of it, the shape of it, deconstructing, simplifying it. That's the whole thing. Any more questions and all that? So, and then like I said, yeah, you can delve more deeper into it. Andrew Loomis. Yes,
Sir, when is the next class?
Dipti, yes. I can see you have done some few works. It's really nice. One thing I would
Yes, sir.
suggest is this
Sir,
one.
please check my more work.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. Yes. Yes, I think all this reference you took it from who was the artist? It's a book, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's from a sketching book. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sketching.
See, all these gestures which you have done are more important than making the highlights, making the shades. Dipti, one thing I would like to suggest is instead of making 2-3 figures on one paper,
Okay, sir.
think of it more of a practice work. So one paper, try to make one sketch of it. So here, yes, you're trying to copy something on your book, which is not a bad thing. Yes. However,
Okay.
it's more like maintaining a sketchbook. It's more like maintaining a proper sketchbook. But what I would recommend is, in order to be like really into it, like use as much sketchbooks as you can, right? Like if you have 2-3 sketchbooks of making certain anatomies, use it. No worries. As much sketchbook, like don't like get too much attached with your work, that you will miss out on the whole thing of it, which means learning, right?
Okay.
Learning of it. So on one paper, yeah, all these are some few little changes, however it can really help you. So on one paper, on one page, you try like swing your whole hand, right?
Yeah.
The whole hand, like try to free yourself.
Yeah.
And if you feel like it's it's feeling a little bit constrained, use A1 size or like use a larger size, move it freely, make as many mistakes as you can, use as many papers as you can. It's not wastage, all right? It's not wastage. It's just spending it efficiently. So just do that. Yeah. However,
Okay.
your works are yes. Really.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any more? All right. Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Dipti. So over here,
Thank you, sir.
yes, it's also important learning and then like learning from someone, looking at someone else's and doing it ourselves is also really, it's a whole different aspect, right? So I want you to do some certain works at home, which would really elevate your this one sketching skills as well, because sketching is the like the fundamental of art. You may like painting or like you may like sculpting, whatever. Sketching is like the fundamental. Like you should not skip this part. You should not take the easy road if you're trying to like focus on a certain art. All right. Sketching fundamentally, it's really much important no matter what artwork you choose. Even engineers and even all those people, sketching is fundamental for them. So if you can, I want you to make some anatomy sketches, include some males and then some females, and if you want you can even include some this one age differentiated group as well, right? So like at least 50. You can do more than 50, it is up to you, but not less than 50. So how will this help you? It will really reinforce your understanding about the whole anatomy as well, right? So when I used to practice, I used to like do at least 100 sketches in in 1 hour something. So like I'm just trying to focus on the whole shape of it. Like I told you, the gesture, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, they don't matter over here, right? So do more than 50, not less than 50. And then yeah, and like I told you already, the size should be at least minimum A4 size, right? Like I was sharing with Deepti as well. Her work are really good. However, in one A4 size, she was trying to include 2-3 sketches into it. Now that becomes more of a copy drawing, right? I have to make this, and then over here I have to like it becomes a little bit stagnant and stiff. So you try to free yourself, A4 size, and like I said, A3 size if you want. Move your hand, right? Move your hand. Try to do it freely. Try expressing it yourself. It's not good art. It's not bad art and all that. All right. So like yeah. So the references for that, like I showed you, you can choose something like that as well, something similar to that as well. And over in our WhatsApp group as well, we have shared at least 10 references over there. We have shared it. You can choose that, and then the 40 more or plus you can edit on your own. Yeah, is that good? Yeah. So
Yes.
I think in a day, if you can do at least like 30 sketches, right? In a day, which means like I think for 30 sketches, it will roughly take maximum of 2 hours. So I think 2 hours in a day, if you're really into art, I think we can spend that time for upskilling as well. Yeah. All right, then.
Okay.
Since our time is also
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I'll see you in the next session. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much as well.
Thank you so much,
Have a
sir.
good day.
Good day.
Sir,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
All
Have a
is
good
clear.
day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. चलो
Is the class finished for today?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
finished for today. So you
Okay.
can try practicing all those. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
All
sir.
right. See you.